Chapter 1. The Invitation. Jason Stevens had always believed life was a series of lessons disguised as ordinary days. Some people ignored them, preferring the comfort of illusions, but Jason wasn't one of those people. At 32, he had learned to embrace the inconvenient truths, the heartbreaks, the disappointments, the quiet victories. They had shaped him into someone who understood his own worth, and that was enough. His office job wasn't glamorous, but he enjoyed it. The rhythm of 9 to 5 suited him, and the camaraderie with his coworkers made the hours pass easily. Outside of work, Jason had his own world, a private one filled with vivid colors and bold lines. Drawing had been his refuge since childhood, evolving from pencil sketches to digital art that could rival professional work. He never shared it, not even with his closest friends. It wasn't about recognition, it was about escape. On a chilly Thursday evening, Jason was halfway through a new comic panel when his phone buzzed. Jessica's name lit up the screen. His older sister rarely called without a reason. "Hey Jess," he answered, leaning back in his chair. "Jason." Perfect timing. Her voice carried the familiar warmth of someone who had mastered multitasking, probably stirring a pot of pasta while wrangling 2 kids. "Listen, Lily's school is hosting an art event tomorrow. She's so excited, and she asked if Uncle Jason would come." Jason smiled. Lily was 8 going on 18, with a flair for dramatics that rivaled any Broadway star. "You know I wouldn't miss it." "What time?" 6 o'clock. It's at the school gym. They've got all the kids' projects on display. Lily's been talking about it nonstop. "Count me in," Jason said without hesitation. He loved being the cool uncle, the one who showed up, who spoiled them with sketchbooks and colored pencils. It was a role he wore proudly. Jessica hesitated, then added, "Oh, and you might like the art teacher. She's really passionate about the program. You two could talk shop." Jason chuckled. "Are you trying to set me up at a school event?" "Me? Never," Jessica said, feigning innocence. "Just saying she's creative." "You like creative?" Jason shook his head, amused. "I'm coming for Lily, not for your matchmaking schemes." Sure, Jessica teased. "See you tomorrow." After the call ended, Jason stared at his half-finished panel, a hero mid-leap, sword raised against a backdrop of stars. He wondered what kind of art Lily had created. Probably something bright and fearless, like her. He saved his work and shut down his tablet, already picturing the school gym filled with colorful chaos. Tomorrow would be simple: family, art, laughter. Nothing complicated. At least that's what he thought. Chapter 2. The art show. The school gym smelled faintly of tempera paint and popcorn, a strange but oddly comforting combination. Jason stepped inside and was immediately greeted by a riot of color. Posters lined the walls, tables overflowed with clay sculptures, and the chatter of excited children filled the air like birdsong. He spotted Jessica near the refreshment stand, waving him over with one hand while balancing a juice box in the other. "You made it," she said, pulling him into a quick hug. "Lily's over by the fantasy display. She's been waiting for you." Jason grinned. Wouldn't miss it. He wove through clusters of parents and kids, pausing to admire a papier-mâché dragon that looked like it had survived a few battles. When he reached the fantasy section, Lily was standing proudly beside a poster board covered in glitter and sketches of knights and space ninjas. "Uncle Jason," she squealed, launching herself into his arms. "Look, this is my world. It's called Starblade Kingdom. There are magic swords and space pirates and, oh, a talking fox named Zippy." Jason crouched to examine her work, genuinely impressed. "Starblade Kingdom? Huh? Sounds epic. You've got a whole universe here." Lily beamed. "Our teacher says we're going to make stories about our worlds. Like real adventures." Jason's curiosity piqued. "Your teacher sounds pretty cool." As if summoned by the compliment, a voice floated over from behind him, warm, clear, and tinged with enthusiasm. "Lily, that's an amazing explanation. You've got a natural storyteller's gift." Jason turned, and for a moment, the noise of the gym faded into a hum. The woman approaching wore a simple navy dress dusted with flecks of chalk, as if creativity clung to her like a second skin. Her strawberry blonde hair was pulled into a loose bun, with a few rebellious strands framing a face that was equal parts elegance and mischief. But it was her eyes that caught him, blue, bright, and curious, like sapphires that had learned how to smile. "Hi," she said, offering a hand. "Emily Carter. I teach art here." Jason shook her hand, noting the faint smudge of green paint on her wrist. "Jason Stevens. Lily's uncle." "Ah, the famous uncle," Emily teased, glancing at Lily. "She talks about you all the time. Apparently, you're the reason she insists on drawing superheroes instead of flowers." Jason chuckled, guilty as charged. Emily's laugh was soft but genuine, and Jason felt an unexpected flicker of warmth. She turned back to Lily's display, her voice animated as she explained the class project to a group of parents gathering nearby. "The kids are creating their own fantasy worlds," Emily said, gesturing to the colorful boards. "They'll design characters, write adventures, and build stories together. It's about imagination, collaboration, and, hopefully, a little magic." Jason listened, but his mind was already spinning. Worlds, characters, adventures. He could see it. Panels filled with vibrant art, dialogue bubbles carrying the kids' words, a series of comics that captured their creativity. It wasn't just a passing thought. It was a spark. When the crowd dispersed, Jason found himself still standing there, hands in his pockets, watching Emily rearrange a stack of sketchbooks. She glanced up, catching his gaze. "Something on your mind?" she asked, tilting her head. Jason hesitated, then smiled. "Actually, yeah, I have an idea, and I think you might like it." Emily raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "I'm listening." Jason leaned closer, lowering his voice as if sharing a secret. "What if we take these stories, everything the kids create, and turn them into comics? Real ones. I can handle the art. You and the students provide the story. By the end, we'd have a collection. Sell them at a fundraiser, maybe even online. Could help fund programs like this." Emily blinked, clearly surprised. Then her lips curved into a slow smile, the kind that hinted at possibility. "That's actually brilliant." Jason shrugged, trying to play it cool even as adrenaline hummed in his veins. "Just an idea. An idea worth exploring," Emily said, her tone thoughtful. "Would you be willing to meet and talk about it? Maybe tomorrow?" Jason nodded. "Absolutely." As he walked back to Jessica, Lily skipping beside him, Jason felt something he hadn't felt in a long time, a sense of anticipation that had nothing to do with work or routine. It wasn't just about comics or creativity. It was about Emily Carter and the way her eyes had lit up when he spoke. Chapter 3. The idea. Jason woke up the next morning with a strange sense of purpose humming beneath his skin. It wasn't the usual Friday anticipation of a weekend free from spreadsheets and office chatter. No, this was different. An idea had taken root and it refused to let go. By mid-afternoon, he had replayed last night's conversation with Emily Carter at least a dozen times. Her expression when he pitched the comic project, surprised, then intrigued, then smiling like someone who had just glimpsed a door to possibility, was burned into his mind. He wasn't sure what excited him more, the creative challenge or the chance to see that smile again. When his phone buzzed with a new message, Jason didn't even pretend to be casual. It was from Jessica. "Jess, Lily says you were the star of the art show. Also, Emily mentioned you had an idea?" Jason smirked, typing back quickly. "Jason, yeah. Thinking of turning the kids' stories into comics. Could help raise funds for the art program." "Jess, that's genius." "And Emily," she seemed impressed. "Just saying." Jason rolled his eyes, though he couldn't deny the flicker of satisfaction. Before he could reply, another notification popped up, this one from an unknown number. "Emily Carter. Hi Jason. It's Emily. I've been thinking about your idea. Can we meet tomorrow to discuss? There's a cafe near the school, Bean and Brush. 11 a.m. Work for you?" Jason stared at the screen for a beat, then grinned like an idiot. "Jason, 11 a.m. works perfectly. Looking forward to it." Saturday morning arrived crisp and bright, the kind of day that made the city feel alive. Jason chose his outfit with more deliberation than usual, casual but not careless, a navy button-down that hinted at effort without screaming date night. He told himself this wasn't a date. It was a meeting, a creative collaboration. Nothing more. Bean and Brush was a cozy cafe with mismatched chairs and walls adorned with local art. Jason spotted Emily immediately. She was seated by the window, sunlight catching the copper tones in her hair. A sketchbook lay open beside her coffee cup, pages filled with whimsical doodles, dragons, castles, and what looked suspiciously like a fox wielding a sword. "Hey," Jason said, sliding into the chair across from her. "Looks like you've been busy." Emily smiled, tapping the sketchbook. "Just brainstorming ideas for the kids' worlds. They're so imaginative. It's contagious." Jason leaned in, genuinely curious. "Show me." She flipped through the pages, explaining each concept with animated gestures. Jason listened, captivated. Not just by the drawings but by the way her eyes lit up when she spoke. Passion looked good on her. Really good. "So," Emily said, closing the sketchbook, "tell me more about your vision." Jason took a breath, organizing his thoughts. "The kids create the story, characters, plot, dialogue. You guide them. I take their material and turn it into a comic series. 10 issues, maybe 12, depending on the length. We print them, sell them at a fundraiser. It's not just about raising money. It's about showing them how ideas become reality." Emily's brows lifted, impressed. "You've thought this through." Jason shrugged, a little self-conscious. "I've been drawing comics since I was a kid. It's my thing." Her smile softened. "I love that. And honestly, this could be incredible for the students. They'd see their work come to life." Jason felt a surge of excitement. "Exactly. So, what do you think?" Emily hesitated only long enough to sip her coffee, then nodded. "I think we should do it." Jason grinned, unable to hide his relief. "Great. We'll need a plan, deadlines, story structure, art style." Emily laughed. "You sound like you're pitching to a boardroom." "Old habits," Jason admitted. "But seriously, I want this to work." Her gaze held his for a moment, steady and warm. So do I. For a beat, the air between them shifted, something unspoken humming beneath the surface. Jason felt it, sharp and undeniable, but he pushed it aside. This was about the project, about the kids, about creativity. Still, as they spent the next hour sketching out ideas and trading jokes about space ninjas and talking foxes, Jason couldn't help but wonder if maybe, just maybe, this was the start of something more. Chapter 4. The first meeting, Bean and Brush had the kind of charm that made you want to linger. A mix of rustic wood tables, chalkboard menus, and the faint aroma of cinnamon drifting through the air. Jason arrived 5 minutes early, which was unusual for him. He blamed the nerves, though he'd never admit it out loud. This wasn't a date. It was a meeting, a creative collaboration. He repeated that mantra like a prayer as he pushed open the door. Emily was already there, seated by the window with a latte in hand and a sketchbook sprawled open. Sunlight streamed through the glass, catching the copper tones in her hair and turning them into something almost luminous. Jason felt a ridiculous urge to check his reflection in the door before walking over. "Hey," he said, sliding into the chair across from her. "Hope I'm not late." Emily looked up, her smile easy and warm. "You're early, actually. I was starting to think you were one of those punctual people." Jason grinned. "Only when I'm bribed with coffee and good company." Her laugh was soft, genuine, the kind that made you want to hear it again. "Well, you're in luck. They make a mean caramel latte here." Jason ordered his drink, then leaned forward, eyeing the sketchbook. "You've been busy." Emily turned the book toward him, revealing pages filled with whimsical doodles, dragons with oversized wings, castles perched on clouds, and a fox wearing a cape. "Just playing around with ideas for the kids' worlds. They're so imaginative. It's contagious." Jason chuckled, flipping through the pages. "This fox looks suspiciously heroic." "Zippy," Emily said with mock solemnity. "Lily insists he's the bravest fox in the galaxy." Jason smiled. "I like it. He's got personality." Emily tilted her head, studying him. "You really love this stuff, don't you?" Jason hesitated, then nodded. "Yeah, comics have been my thing since I was a kid. It's my escape." Her expression softened, curiosity flickering in her eyes. "Why keep it private? You're clearly talented." Jason shrugged, suddenly aware of how personal this felt. "I guess it's mine. You know? Something that doesn't have deadlines or performance reviews attached." Emily nodded slowly, as if she understood more than he expected. "That makes sense." For a moment, silence stretched. Not awkward, but charged with something unspoken. Jason cleared his throat, pulling out a notepad. "So, about the project." Emily smiled, leaning in. "Right, the plan." They spent the next hour sketching out ideas, their conversation flowing easily between logistics and laughter. Jason outlined deadlines and printing costs while Emily countered with creative flourishes. What if the kids vote on cover designs? Could we add a bonus section with their original sketches? Every suggestion sparked another, until the table was littered with notes and doodles. At one point, Jason teased, "You realize you're turning this into a full-blown production." Emily grinned. "What can I say? Go big or go home." Jason laughed, shaking his head. "Your trouble." Her eyes danced with amusement. "The good kind, I hope." Jason met her gaze, and for a heartbeat, the air shifted. He felt it, the pull, the spark, the undeniable sense that this was more than a project. He wanted to say something clever or bold, but the words tangled in his throat. Emily broke the moment with a playful smirk. "So, Mr. Comic Artist, think you can handle space ninjas and talking foxes?" Jason grinned, grateful for the lifeline. "Bring it on." As they packed up, Emily touched his arm lightly. A casual gesture, but it sent a jolt through him. "Thanks for doing this, Jason. It means a lot." He smiled, trying to keep his voice steady. "Happy to help. And I think it's going to be fun." Walking out of the cafe, Jason felt lighter, energized. This wasn't just about comics anymore. It was about possibility, the kind that made you look forward to tomorrow. Chapter 5. The collaboration begins. Jason had always loved the quiet hum of creativity, the way ideas slipped into his mind like whispers and then demanded to be drawn into existence. But this time, it felt different. This wasn't just his private escape anymore. It was a shared vision, and that made the blank canvas on his tablet feel electric. By Monday evening, his inbox pinged with an email from Emily. The subject line read, "First batch of stories." Jason opened it immediately, grinning at the attached files. Each document was a treasure trove of imagination. Kids describing worlds where swords hummed with magic, space ninjas battled intergalactic pirates, and a fox named Zippy saved galaxies with nothing but wit and a laser tail. Jason laughed out loud at one line. Zippy defeats the evil emperor by distracting him with interpretive dance. He could already see the panel in his head. A fox mid-spin, cape flying dramatically. He texted Emily before he could stop himself. "Jason, interpretive dance as a battle tactic? Genius. Tell Lily she's a visionary." Her reply came almost instantly. "Emily. She says Zippy trained at the Galactic Ballet Academy. Don't question the lore." Jason chuckled, fingers flying over the keyboard. Jason, fair enough. I'll make sure his pirouette game is strong. Emily, good. Accuracy matters in space ballet warfare. Jason leaned back, smiling at the screen. Their banter had an ease to it, a rhythm that felt natural, like they'd been doing this for years. He told himself it was just creative synergy, but the truth was harder to ignore. He liked talking to her, more than he should. Over the next week, Jason's apartment transformed into a comic studio. Sketches covered his desk, sticky notes clung to his monitor like neon confetti, and his tablet rarely left his hands. He worked late into the night, fueled by coffee and the thrill of bringing the kids' worlds to life. Every few hours, he'd send Emily progress shots, rough panels, character designs, color palettes. Her responses were always enthusiastic, sprinkled with humor. Emily, Zippy looks heroic, but can we make his tail fluffier? Galactic standards, you know. Jason, fluff level, maximum achieved. He's practically a walking cloud now. Emily, perfect. The galaxy is safe. Sometimes their conversations drifted beyond the project. Favorite movies, embarrassing childhood stories, the eternal debate over pineapple on pizza. Jason found himself looking forward to those tangents as much as the work itself. One evening, after finishing a particularly detailed panel of Space Ninjas mid-battle, Jason's phone buzzed again. Emily, you're spoiling me with these updates. The kids are going to lose their minds when they see this. Jason smiled, typing back, Jason, glad to hear it. Honestly, this is the most fun I've had in ages. Her reply came with a pause. Then, Emily, me too. 2 words. Simple. But they lingered in Jason's mind long after he set his phone down. By Friday, they had the first issue nearly complete. Jason stared at the cover art. A vibrant explosion of color featuring Zippy front and center, sword raised against a backdrop of stars. It wasn't just good. It was something special. He snapped a photo and sent it to Emily with a caption. Jason, issue number 1. Starblade Kingdom. Ready for liftoff. Her response was immediate. Emily, Jason, this is incredible. You've taken their ideas and made them magic. Jason felt a warmth spread through his chest, a mix of pride and something softer, something he wasn't ready to name. He typed back, Jason, couldn't have done it without you. Her reply was playful, but her words carried weight. Emily, teamwork makes the dream work. Speaking of dreams, coffee tomorrow? My treat. Jason stared at the message, heart thudding. Coffee. Casual. Friendly. But maybe, just maybe, something more. He smiled, fingers hovering over the keyboard before typing. Jason, wouldn't miss it. As Jason shut down his tablet for the night, he realized something. This project had started as a way to help kids and fund an art program. But somewhere between the sketches and the late-night texts, it had become something else entirely. Something that felt like the beginning of a story he hadn't planned, but desperately wanted to see unfold. Chapter 6. Friends Weigh In. Saturday night found Jason at his favorite neighborhood bar. A cozy spot with exposed brick walls and a jukebox that hadn't worked since 2012. He was nursing a craft beer when his best friend, Marcus, slid into the booth across from him with a grin that spelled trouble. You've been smiling at your phone like a teenager in love, Marcus said, stealing a fry from Jason's plate. Spill. Jason rolled his eyes. It's called being happy about a project. Marcus snorted. Right? And I'm the Queen of England. Come on, man. You've been buzzing all week. What's her name? Jason hesitated, then sighed. Emily. Marcus leaned back, triumphant. Knew it. So what's the deal? She's cute, right? Jason tried for casual, failed miserably. She's a creative. Passionate about her students. Funny. Marcus grinned. Translation. You're into her. Before Jason could respond, their friend Claire arrived, tossing her purse onto the seat beside Marcus. Into who? Emily, Marcus said, smirking. Jason's mystery art teacher. Claire's eyes lit up. Oh, the one from Lily's school? Jessica mentioned her. Said she's gorgeous. Jason groaned. Can we not turn this into a group interrogation? Claire ignored him, leaning forward. So, what's she like? Jason hesitated, then gave in. She's amazing. Smart, funny, creative. We've been working on this comic project for the kids. Marcus raised an eyebrow. And texting non-stop, apparently. Jason shot him a look. It's about the project. Claire grinned. Sure it is. Look, Jason, you've been single for what, 2 years? You deserve someone who gets you. And from what I hear, Emily sounds like she does. Jason shifted in his seat, uncomfortable with how much that hit home. It's complicated. Marcus snorted. What's complicated? You like her. She likes you, don't even try to deny it. People don't invite you for coffee just because they love your comic fonts. Jason chuckled despite himself. It's not that simple. Claire tilted her head. Why not? Jason hesitated, swirling his beer. Because, I've been here before. Rushed into something, ignored the warning signs, ended up hurt. I promised myself I'd take things slow. Marcus softened, his teasing fading. Fair. But slow doesn't mean standing still. Jason nodded, appreciating the wisdom beneath the sarcasm. Still, As the conversation drifted to football scores and weekend plans, Jason couldn't shake the thought. Maybe Marcus was right. Maybe he was standing still when he should be moving just a little. Later that night, Jason lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. His phone buzzed on the nightstand. A message from Emily. Emily, thanks for today. The kids are going to be thrilled. Also, Zippy's tail fluff level? Perfection. Jason smiled, typing back, Jason, glad to hear it. Tomorrow I'll start on the space ninja battle scene. Brace yourself. Her reply came with a wink emoji. Emily, I'm ready. Good night, Jason. Jason set the phone down, heart thudding. Good night. 2 words, simple as air, but they carried weight. He closed his eyes, wondering if maybe, just maybe, tomorrow wasn't just about comics anymore. Chapter 7. A minor setback. By the time Jason finished the second issue's cover art, a dazzling spread of space ninjas mid-leap against a cosmic backdrop, he felt unstoppable. The project was humming along. The kids were ecstatic, and Emily, well, Emily had become the highlight of his days. Their texts were a mix of creative updates and playful banter, sprinkled with emojis that felt like tiny sparks. Then came the email that knocked the wind out of him. Subject, urgent. Funding freeze for arts program. Jason read it twice, then a third time, hoping the words would rearrange themselves into something less catastrophic. The school district had frozen discretionary funds due to budget constraints. Translation, no money for printing, no money for the fundraiser event, no money for anything. His phone buzzed before he could process the blow. Emily, did you see the email? Jason typed back quickly, Jason. Yeah, this is bad. Her reply came fast, tinged with frustration. Emily, I feel like I've been punched in the gut. These kids were so excited. I promised them this would happen. Jason stared at the screen, imagining her sitting in her classroom, surrounded by bright posters and half-finished projects, feeling like she'd let her students down. The thought twisted something inside him. He called her. Emily answered on the second ring, her voice tight. Jason, I don't know what to tell them. They've been working so hard. Jason leaned against his desk, gripping the phone. We'll figure it out. How? She asked, a hint of despair creeping in. Printing costs aren't pocket change. And the fundraiser was supposed to cover everything. Jason's mind raced. He hated seeing her like this. Even through a phone line, he could feel the weight pressing on her. What if we go digital? He said suddenly. Release the comics online. Sell them as downloads. No printing costs, no shipping. We can still raise money. Emily was quiet for a beat, then exhaled. That could work. But would people buy them? Jason smiled, even though she couldn't see it. Trust me, these stories are gold. And I know a few platforms we can use to make it easy. Her voice softened, hope flickering back. You really think we can pull this off? I don't think, Jason said firmly. I know. Emily laughed, a shaky, relieved sound that made Jason's chest loosen. You're kind of amazing, you know that? Jason grinned. I try. There was a pause. Then Emily said quietly, thank you, Jason, for not letting me drown in this. Jason swallowed, his voice gentler now. You're not alone in this, Emily. We're a team. Remember? Her silence stretched just long enough to feel like something more than agreement. Then she said, yeah, a team. They spent the next hour brainstorming, their conversation a mix of logistics and laughter. Emily teased him about being a tech wizard, and Jason countered by calling her Commander of Chaos for juggling kids, lesson plans, and now a digital launch. By the time they hung up, the setback didn't feel like a disaster anymore. It felt like a challenge, and one they were ready to tackle together. But as Jason set his phone down, he couldn't ignore the truth humming beneath the surface. This wasn't just about saving a project. It was about saving something that mattered to her. And that mattered to him more than he wanted to admit. Chapter 8. The Turning Point. The first digital comic went live on a Thursday evening. Jason watched the download counter tick upward like a heartbeat. Slow at first, then steady, then climbing faster as word spread. Emily had blasted the link to parents, posted on social media, and even convinced the school principal to share it in the newsletter. By midnight, they had sold enough copies to cover the next 2 issues. It wasn't a miracle, but it was momentum. Jason was still riding that high when Emily called the next day. Victory dance time, she said, her voice bubbling with excitement. We did it. Jason grinned, leaning back in his chair. I'm assuming Zippy will lead the dance? Obviously, Emily said, laughing. But seriously, Jason, thank you. I don't think I've said that enough. You've said it plenty, Jason replied, though her gratitude warmed him more than he cared to admit. But if you want to say it again, I won't stop you. Emily chuckled, then hesitated. Actually, can you come by the school? I want to show you something. The art room smelled faintly of acrylic paint and pencil shavings, a scent Jason was starting to associate with Emily. She was waiting by the big windows, sunlight spilling across her hair like liquid copper. On the table behind her sat a stack of sketchbooks, each one filled with the kids' original drawings. They wanted you to see these, Emily said softly, flipping one open. They're so proud. Jason leaned in, scanning the pages. Dragons with glittering scales, space ninjas wielding glowing swords, Zippy mid-pirouette. His chest tightened. These weren't just drawings. They were dreams, stitched together in crayon and ink. "They're incredible," Jason murmured. Emily smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. "I was so scared we'd lose this, that they'd think their ideas didn't matter." Jason looked at her then, really looked. The usual spark in her eyes was dimmed, replaced by something raw and vulnerable. Without thinking, he reached out, his fingers brushing hers where they rested on the sketchbook. "You didn't lose it," he said quietly. "You fought for them. That matters." Emily's breath hitched, her gaze locking with his. For a moment, the world narrowed to the space between them. The warmth of her hand, the sunlight pooling around her, the quiet hum of possibility. Jason felt it like gravity, pulling him closer. He wanted to kiss her. God, he wanted to kiss her. Emily's lips parted, her eyes softening, and Jason leaned in. "Miss Carter!" A voice shrieked from the doorway. A small tornado of a child barreled into the room, clutching a glitter-covered poster. "I finished the galaxy map." Emily jerked back, cheeks flushed. Jason straightened so fast he nearly knocked over a chair. "Wow," Jason said, forcing a smile as the kid thrust the poster at Emily. "That's a lot of glitter." Emily shot him a look, half apology, half amusement, before crouching to admire the masterpiece. Jason took a step back, heart still pounding, and tried to breathe like a normal human. So close, so damn close. Later, as Jason walked to his car, his phone buzzed. A text from Emily. "Emily, sorry about the interruption. Timing hates us." Jason stared at the screen, then typed back, "Jason, timing's just dramatic. We'll get our moment." Her reply came with a single word and a smiley face. "Emily, promise?" Jason grinned, slipping his phone into his pocket. "Promise." Chapter 9. The big event. The night of the fundraiser arrived like a whirlwind, bright banners strung across the school gym, tables stacked with laptops for digital comic previews, and a crowd buzzing with anticipation. Jason stood near the entrance, adjusting the collar of his shirt and trying not to look like someone who had spent the last hour debating whether this counted as a date. Emily was everywhere at once, greeting parents, wrangling kids, and somehow still managing to look effortlessly stunning in a simple emerald blouse that made her eyes glow like polished gems. Jason caught himself staring more than once, and each time, he forced his gaze back to the display screens showcasing their work. The comics looked incredible. Zippy the Fox was practically a celebrity now, his heroic pirouette immortalized in issue number 1. Parents hovered around the tables, laughing at dialogue bubbles and marveling at the vibrant art. Kids darted between booths, proudly pointing out their characters. It was chaos, but the good kind. Emily appeared at Jason's side, breathless but smiling. "Look at this turnout. We've already doubled our goal." Jason grinned. "Told you people would love it." She shot him a playful look. "You were right. Don't let it go to your head." Jason chuckled, but before he could reply, a loud crash echoed from the refreshment table. They turned just in time to see a tower of cupcakes topple like a sugary avalanche, sending frosting splattering across the floor and onto Jason's shoes. Emily clapped a hand over her mouth, stifling a laugh. "Oh no!" Jason stared at his frosting-coated sneakers, then deadpanned. "Well, at least they matched the color scheme." Emily burst out laughing, the sound bright and unrestrained. Jason couldn't help but join in, even as a kid ran past yelling, "Cupcake casualty!" They grabbed napkins and crouched to clean up, their shoulders bumping as they worked. Jason glanced at Emily, her cheeks flushed from laughter, and felt that familiar pull, the spark that had been simmering for weeks. "Thanks for saving me from frosting doom," he said lightly. Emily smirked. "Teamwork, remember?" Jason hesitated, then lowered his voice. "Emily, this tonight, it's amazing, but it's not just the comics, it's you." Her hands stilled, her eyes lifting to meet his. For a moment, the noise of the gym faded, replaced by the quiet thrum of something inevitable. "Jason," she began, but her voice was soft, uncertain. He leaned closer, heart pounding. "I like you, more than I should probably admit in a cupcake crisis." Emily laughed, a shaky, surprised sound, but her eyes were warm, her smile tender. "You have terrible timing." Jason grinned. "Story of my life." Before either of them could say more, the principal's voice boomed over the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for supporting our art program." Emily exhaled, amusement flickering across her face. "Saved by the announcement." Jason chuckled, but as they stood, their fingers brushed, a fleeting touch that lingered like a promise. By the end of the night, the fundraiser had shattered expectations. They'd raised enough to fund the art program for the year and then some. Parents congratulated Emily, kids hugged her like she was a superhero, and Jason watched it all with quiet pride. As the crowd thinned, Emily walked over, her expression softer now. "You were incredible tonight." Jason shook his head. "You were the heart of this." Emily smiled, then hesitated. "Coffee tomorrow? No frosting involved." Jason grinned. "It's a date." Her eyes sparkled. "Good." Chapter 10. The confession Sunday afternoon found Jason standing outside Bean and Brush, the same cafe where this whole thing had started. He told himself to breathe, to keep it casual, but his pulse had other plans, thudding like a drumline as he pushed open the door. Emily was already there, tucked into a corner booth with 2 steaming mugs on the table. She looked up when he entered, and for a moment Jason forgot how to walk. That smile, the one that always seemed to reach her eyes first, hit him like sunlight after rain. "Hey," she said softly. "I got your usual." Jason slid into the seat across from her, his grin crooked. "You're spoiling me." Emily laughed, but there was a nervous edge to it. "After last night, I figured you deserved it." Jason chuckled. Cupcake disaster aside, I'd say it was a win. Her smile faltered just slightly, and Jason noticed the way her fingers curled around her mug, like she was holding on to something invisible. He leaned forward, his voice gentler now. "Emily, you okay?" She hesitated, then exhaled. "I've been thinking about this, about us." Jason's heart kicked hard against his ribs. "Us?" Emily nodded, her gaze steady but vulnerable. "Jason, I didn't expect this. When you walked into that art show, I thought you were just Lily's cool uncle. And now, you've become this person I look forward to talking to every day." Jason swallowed, his throat suddenly dry. "I feel the same. More than the same." Her lips curved into a small, uncertain smile. "I'm not great at this, at saying things out loud, but I like you. A lot. And it scares me because I've been burned before." Jason reached across the table, his hand covering hers. Warmth surged through him at the contact. "Emily, I get it. I've been there too. I promised myself I'd take things slow because rushing never ends well. But with you," he paused, searching for the right words. "With you, it feels different. It feels right." Emily's breath hitched, her fingers tightening around his. "So what do we do?" Jason smiled, a little shaky but certain. "We start. One step at a time. No rush, no pressure. Just us." Her eyes softened, and for the first time, the tension between them melted into something easy, something real. "I'd like that," she whispered. Jason grinned, relief and joy colliding in his chest. "Good, because I was running out of excuses to keep texting you about Zippy's tail fluff." Emily laughed, a bright, unguarded sound that made Jason want to bottle it and keep it forever. "You're ridiculous. And you love it," Jason teased. Her smile turned tender. "Yeah, I think I do." They lingered over coffee, their conversation flowing like it always did. Only now, every word carried a new weight, a quiet promise. When they finally stepped outside, the winter air was crisp, but Jason felt warm all over. As they walked side by side, Emily slipped her hand into his. No fanfare, no hesitation, just a simple gesture that said everything. Jason squeezed her fingers gently, his heart steady for the first time in a long time. This wasn't a comfortable lie. It wasn't an illusion. It was real. And for Jason Stevens, that was the best truth of all. Chapter 11, the first date. Jason had never been the grand gesture type. He believed in details, the small things that spoke louder than fireworks. So when Emily agreed to a first date, he knew exactly what he wanted to do. Something creative, something that felt like them. Saturday evening, Jason stood outside Ink and Sip, a quirky little studio that combined art classes with coffee and wine. The sign out front read, "Paint your own adventure," which felt almost poetic given how their story had started. He checked his watch, then glanced up just as Emily arrived. She was wearing a soft gray sweater and jeans, casual but effortlessly stunning. Her hair was loose tonight, catching the glow of the streetlights, and Jason had to remind himself to breathe. "Paint and wine," Emily said, arching an eyebrow as she approached. "You're full of surprises." Jason grinned. "Figured we'd stick to our theme. Art, caffeine, and mild chaos." Emily laughed, her eyes sparkling. "I like it." Inside, the studio buzzed with quiet chatter and the clink of glasses. Easels lined the walls, each paired with a palette of vibrant paints. Jason led Emily to their station, where 2 blank canvases waited like unopened doors. "So," Jason said, handing her a brush, "we're supposed to paint something that represents an adventure. Any ideas?" Emily smirked. "Zippy doing a victory pirouette?" Jason chuckled. "Tempting, but maybe let's branch out." They settled in, dipping brushes into color, their conversation flowing as easily as the wine. Emily teased Jason about his serious artist face, and he retaliated by flicking a tiny dot of blue paint onto her canvas. "Oh, it's war now?" she said, eyes narrowing playfully. Jason grinned. "Bring it." What followed was less painting and more playful sabotage. Tiny streaks of color appearing on each other's canvases, laughter spilling into the air like music. At one point, Emily managed to swipe a streak of green across Jason's forearm, and he retaliated by dotting her nose with yellow. "Great," Emily said, mock serious. "Now I look like a traffic light." Jason laughed, his chest warm with something that had nothing to do with wine. "You look perfect." The words slipped out before he could stop them. Emily froze for a beat, her brush hovering midair. Then her smile softened, and Jason felt the world tilt just slightly. "Careful." she murmured, her voice low. You're setting the bar high. Jason met her gaze, steady now. Good. I plan to keep it there. By the time they finished, their canvases were a riot of color, half masterpiece, half battlefield. Emily snapped a photo, laughing. We should auction these for charity. Or maybe burn them. Jason grinned. Speak for yourself. Mine's going in a gallery. Emily rolled her eyes, but her laughter was warm, unguarded. As they stepped outside into the cool night air, Jason felt a quiet certainty settle in his chest. This wasn't just a good date. It was the start of something that mattered. Emily slipped her hand into his as they walked toward her car. No hesitation, no fanfare. Just a simple gesture that felt like the most natural thing in the world. Jason squeezed her fingers gently, smiling. Next time, we're doing comics. Emily laughed. Deal. Chapter 12. Lessons in Love. Jason had always believed that heartbreak was a teacher. Brutal, unrelenting, but necessary. Sitting across from Emily now, in the quiet corner of a little wine bar, he realized he'd never had the chance to share that philosophy with someone who might actually understand it. The evening had started light. Jokes about their disastrous paint war, teasing about Zippy's growing fan club, but somewhere between the second glass of Merlot and the soft hum of jazz in the background, the conversation shifted. Emily traced the rim of her glass, her voice quieter now. You ever feel like you wasted years on the wrong person? Jason leaned back, considering. I used to think that. After my last breakup, I was angry. At her, at myself, at the time I couldn't get back. But then I realized it wasn't wasted. Taught me what I want, what I won't settle for. Emily's eyes lifted, curious. What did you learn? Jason smiled faintly. That love isn't about fixing someone or being fixed. It's about choosing each other every day, even when it's hard. And if someone can't do that, you walk away. Emily nodded slowly, her expression thoughtful. I wish I'd learned that sooner. My ex, he was charming, funny, until he wasn't. I kept thinking if I tried harder, he'd come back to the person I fell for. Jason's chest tightened. That's not on you. Emily gave a small, rueful laugh. Tell that to the version of me who thought love meant endurance. Jason reached across the table, his fingers brushing hers. Endurance is for marathons, not relationships. Emily laughed softly, but her eyes shimmered with something deeper. Gratitude, maybe, or relief. You're good at this. Talking about the hard stuff. Jason shrugged. Comes with the territory. I've had my share of lessons. Emily tilted her head, studying him. And now, Jason held her gaze steady. Now I know what matters. Honesty, accountability, growth, and someone who makes me laugh when life feels heavy. Emily smiled, her fingers curling around his. Sounds like you've got a checklist. Jason grinned. Just one item left. Her brows lifted. What's that? Jason's voice softened. Finding the person who checks all the boxes. Emily's breath caught, and for a moment, the air between them felt charged. Like the pause before a kiss, like the hush before a storm. Then she whispered, maybe you already have. Jason's heart thudded hard. But before he could respond, the waiter appeared with dessert. A towering chocolate mousse that looked like it belonged in a museum. Careful, Jason said as the plate landed between them. This might ruin the mood. Emily laughed, the tension breaking like glass. Only if you hog it. Jason grinned, handing her a spoon. Teamwork. Always, she said, her smile tender now. They shared the mousse, their conversation weaving between laughter and quiet truths. By the time they stepped outside, the night air was cool, and Jason felt lighter, like he'd set down a weight he didn't know he was carrying. Emily slipped her arm through his as they walked. Thanks for tonight. Jason smiled. Thanks for trusting me. Her gaze lingered on his, warm and steady. I think I'm getting used to that. Jason squeezed her hand gently, his chest full of something that felt dangerously close to joy. Lessons learned, boxes checked, and maybe, just maybe, the start of something that didn't need fixing. Chapter 13. Happily ever after, sort of. Spring sunlight spilled across Jason's apartment, catching on the scattered sketchbooks and the glowing screen of his tablet. He sat cross-legged on the couch, stylus in hand, staring at the panel he'd just finished. A fox in a cape, standing triumphantly on a mountaintop. But this time, Zippy wasn't alone. Beside him stood two figures, a man with a crooked grin and a woman with hair like copper fire, their hands clasped as they faced a horizon painted in starlight. Jason smiled, saving the file before he could second-guess himself. It wasn't for the kids. It wasn't for the fundraiser. It was for him. For them. The past few weeks had been a blur of laughter, late-night calls, and shared coffee cups. The comics were a hit, downloads climbing, parents raving, kids proudly declaring themselves published authors. But the real story, the one Jason hadn't planned, was unfolding quietly between him and Emily. They didn't rush. There were no grand declarations, no whirlwind drama. Just small moments stitched together like panels in a comic, her head resting on his shoulder during a movie, his hand brushing hers as they walked through the park, the way her laughter filled the spaces he didn't know were empty. Tonight, they were at her place, sprawled on the floor amid a sea of colored pencils and half-finished lesson plans. Emily was sketching a dragon with exaggerated wings, tongue poking out in concentration. Jason watched her for a moment, then said softly, "You know, you're stealing my thing." Emily smirked without looking up. "Please, I've elevated your thing." Jason chuckled, leaning closer. "You've definitely made it better." She glanced at him then, her smile tender. "We make it better." Jason's chest tightened, warmth blooming like ink across a page. He reached out, brushing a stray strand of hair from her face. "You realize this started because of Zippy." Emily laughed, eyes sparkling. "The galaxy owes him everything." Jason grinned. "Including us." Her laughter softened into something quieter, something that lingered. "Including us," she echoed. Later, when Emily fell asleep on the couch, Jason sat beside her, sketchbook balanced on his knee. He drew quickly, lines flowing like water. A comic panel of two characters standing side by side, hands clasped, smiles bright. Above them, in bold letters, he wrote, "Every great story starts with an idea." Jason stared at the page, his heart steady. This wasn't the ending. It was the beginning, the kind that didn't need magic swords or space ninjas to feel extraordinary. Because sometimes, the best adventure was finding someone who made you laugh when life felt heavy. Someone who turned lessons into love. Someone who made you believe in happily ever after, even if it was the kind with coffee stains and paint smudges. Jason closed the sketchbook gently, glancing at Emily as she slept. Then he whispered, almost to himself, "Best plot twist ever? Epilogue? Panels of forever?" Jason sat at his desk, the glow of his tablet casting soft light across the room. Emily was curled up on the couch behind him, half asleep with a blanket draped over her shoulders. Outside, the city hummed quietly, but inside, it was just them, and the story he was about to finish. He sketched quickly, lines flowing with the ease of someone who wasn't just drawing characters anymore. He was drawing memories. Panel 1. Zippy the fox, standing proudly in a superhero pose, cape fluttering dramatically. A speech bubble read, "Every great adventure starts with an idea." Panel 2. Jason and Emily, rendered in bold comic style, sitting side by side at a cafe table, coffee cups steaming. Jason's dialogue bubble, "So, coffee tomorrow?" Emily's bubble, "It's a date." Panel 3. The art room, sunlight streaming through the windows, their hands brushing over a sketchbook. Zippy peeking from the corner with a mischievous grin. Final panel. Jason and Emily walking hand in hand beneath a starry sky, their silhouettes framed by a caption in bold letters, "Happily ever after, sort of?" And in the bottom corner, Zippy winking at the reader with a tiny banner that read, "To be continued." Jason stared at the finished strip, a smile tugging at his lips. It wasn't perfect, love never was, but it was honest, colorful, and full of laughter. Just like them. He saved the file, then turned to look at Emily. She stirred, blinking sleepily. "Still drawing?" Jason grinned. "Always." Emily smiled, her voice soft. "Show me later?" Jason leaned down, brushing a kiss against her forehead. "Promise." As she drifted back to sleep, Jason glanced at the comic one last time. It wasn't just a story. It was their story, written in ink, colored in joy, and framed in the kind of panels that never really end. Because some adventures don't need a final page. They just need two people willing to keep turning them together.